Hey everyone, so I'm just going to give you a quick overview of how to set up files for doing IMS work in InDesign. So I'll lead you through some of the templates we created, some of the folder structure we came up with to sort of help the workflow along the way. So we'll just jump right into it. So what I've done is I've set up a little folder in the shared folder on the BMC server. So connect to the server and your computer doesn't freeze, and you go down to shared. So we've been working out of a folder called IMS compile. We did this for the last issue, so if you actually go in here on the shared server, you can see the winter 2014 files. So everything is already set up here, and I've just created this new folder called tutorial right now. I'm making this cast remotely, so I can't actually change the permissions on this. So ideally, if you're ever at UTM or FITS and you have someone with Overlord access, you can go in and make sure that this little setting is set to both read and write for everybody, but I'm locked out right now. So once you get that happening, you can go in, you can overwrite the files. Right now you can just open them and read them, but that's all you'll really need. So when you start setting up files for actually making an issue, it's a good idea to set this up on the shared directory on the server. InDesign's great at a lot of things. What it's not so great at is making use of relative links. So I'll talk about this a little bit more later on, but the idea is that every time you bring in an asset like a font or an image, it always links to that asset with an absolute link. So if you're doing this on your home computer, that means it's linking to your hard drive. And if you've got 5 people working on things, they're linking to their own hard drives, so it makes things a little complicated. So it's best to sort of keep everything in one place. So feel free to use the setup I have here. So you can make your folder for your issue, and then what we do is we create an assets folder, and within that assets folder we've got one folder for all the fonts that we are going to use. It's good to maybe meet beforehand and agree on which fonts you're going to use. If you change fonts later on, it's a little bit difficult to update. And then we create a folder here just called images, and most of this stuff will be provided by the executive. So the other folder I've given you here is just our master template. So we came up with this last year just to make sure we have consistent style throughout the issue, even though we're all working independently on our own little articles. So I'm going to use this to give you an introduction to InDesign as well. So if you're in this folder, you can go ahead and double click on this and launch InDesign. Okay. So just to make sure we're all looking at the same thing in the same way, if we go to Window and Workspace, I'm going to work just under the Essentials mode. Yours may be set to something else. Sometimes the typography workspace is pretty good, but we'll start with Essentials for now. So I'll switch between them. So here's typography, and I'll go back to Essentials. Okay. So when we're in here, this is sort of our master template that we've created to help you get a common styles. So let me just show you on InDesign first and the things you'll need. So InDesign is very similar to Illustrator in a lot of ways, but it's set up more for production of print items like magazines. So you can see a tab here called Layers, which looks very familiar, and it works just like the Layers tab in Illustrator and Photoshop. But what we'll probably be using most is the Pages tab and the Links tab. So let me go into Pages first. So Pages essentially outlines all your different pages. Makes sense. So here's page 1, here's page 2, here's page 3. If I look at my layout here, page 1, page 2, page 3. Okay. And of course you can add new pages. You can grab pages and move them around, change the order of them. Okay. But what's also pretty handy is that InDesign creates these master pages as well up here. And that's what you'll really be using a lot of, especially for IMS, where you've got sort of common footers and headers and layouts. All the things essentially you want to stay the same on each and every single page. You want to edit in your master. So if I double click on the master, you can see my view changes here. And this gives me sort of the left and right hand sort of layout that's going to be consistent on every single page. So you can see the way we have this set up, we have just sort of these guidelines set up and these borders set up to keep the columns consistent in every single page. And we also have the footer set up here. So the first thing you probably want to do is go in here and change this. I guess you guys are probably working on the summer issue. And this is usually the theme of the issue, whatever that may be. Okay, so if I change this in the master document here, okay, if I go back to my regular pages, okay, so I just changed the left-hand side there. You should see that. So for every single page, that's been updated now. Okay, now if I want to do the same on the right-hand side, okay, again I have to go up into the master and actually change that. Okay, and it updates automatically, so you can see all these pages change. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's the masters. So the way we have it set up, you probably don't need to change. Okay, we've been using this for the last issue, and it's good to keep this consistent across others, so keeping the same sort of fonts, colors, and layout would be nice. So you can make changes to this, but I would just sort of use this master as is. So the other thing we've set up in this template, I'm going to delete this extra page I made. So you can see on this very first page here, I have examples of sort of styles to use for things like the header, for the different types of paragraphs, for using the name of the author or subtitles or block quotes and references. So this is again a good way to stay consistent between the different pages. Now what's great about InDesign is that if you come up with a style that you like, you can actually save it as a template and apply that style somewhere else. It's almost like in Illustrator where you make swatches, but instead of just saving a color, you're actually saving entire styles. So a typeface, a font size, font colors, other sorts of layouts. So to access these styles, if you can go to Window and then Styles, and what we've created last time was character styles and paragraph styles, and these are probably what you're going to need to use the most. So I'm going to go ahead and click on character styles, and actually both come up in the same pane here. Okay. So I've got character styles here and paragraph styles here. Okay, so in this description here, I sort of write a little description about how to actually use things like paragraph styles and character styles. This paragraph here is an example of just a first paragraph in any article where we have this sort of we want a different font for the first line, sort of all caps. We want this drop cap for the very first letter, and then we change the font to something else over here. In the description here, I tell you exactly how to use this. So if you create a paragraph, you highlight the text and then select from the paragraph styles, first paragraph, and then everything else is taken care of. Now the one thing you have to note is make sure that there are no character styles applied to that text beforehand. The character styles tend to overwrite the paragraph styles. Okay, so these hold a little more weight than the paragraph styles. So let me show you how to actually do that. So let's go to a blank page over here.